Good evening. I'm Alex Truth.
And I'm Maya Clarity. Welcome to Truth Report. Tonight we're diving deep into two stories about OpenAI that reveal something troubling about the future of artificial intelligence, and who really profits from it.
First, OpenAI announced this week they're bringing advertisements to ChatGPT. But this isn't just about seeing ads in your AI chat. This is about a company burning through billions of dollars with no path to profitability, desperately pivoting to extract value from the 800 million users they've accumulated.
And second, a new security vulnerability called Zombie Agent that lets attackers turn ChatGPT into a persistent spy, exfiltrating your emails, contacts, and every conversation you have with the AI. But here's the kicker: OpenAI admits this type of attack may never be fully solvable.
We're going to connect these stories tonight because they're not separate issues. They're symptoms of the same disease, an AI industry built on unsustainable economics and fundamental security flaws, rushing to monetize users before the whole house of cards collapses.
Let's start with the money. According to reporting from The Information, https://www.theinformation.com/articles/openai-projections-imply-losses-14- billion in 2026. OpenAI's own internal projections show losses tripling to $14 billion in 2026. That's not a typo. $14 billion in losses in a single year.
And they're currently burning through $8 billion in 2025 on $13 billion in revenue. That's a cash burn rate of roughly 70%. Financial analysts warn, https://www.tomshardwrecom/techindustry/bigtech/OpenAI could reportedly run out of cash by mid-NYT analyst paints grim picture after examining company's finances. OpenAI could literally run out of money by mid-2027. Sebastian Malaby, senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations, puts it bluntly, they could be out of cash over the next 18 months.
So let's be clear about what's happening here. OpenAI has made grand promises about achieving artificial general intelligence, about transforming humanity, about being worth $157 billion in their latest valuation. But the underlying business model is catastrophically broken.
Between 2024 and 2029, OpenAI expects to rack up $143 billion in negative cumulative free cash flow. https://www.emarketer.com/content/openai-143-billion-loss-raises-stakes-AI-monetization. They're projecting they won't turn cash flow positive until 2029 or 2030. Think about that timeline. They need to survive 5 more years of hemorrhaging money before they even break even.
Which brings us to the ads. On January 16, 2026, OpenAI announced https://openai.com/index/our-approach-to-advertising-and-expanding-access. They're testing advertisements in ChatGPT, starting in the United States in the coming weeks. Ads will appear for users on the free tier and on the new $8 per month ChatGPT Go plan.
Now, OpenAI frames this very carefully. They say ads will only appear at the bottom of answers when there's a relevant sponsored product or service based on the current conversation. They promise they will never sell user data to advertisers. They say ads won't influence ChatGPT's responses.
But let's examine what based on the current conversation actually means. Your conversation history isn't just training data anymore. As analysts note, https://www.dataslayer.ai/blog/chatgpt-advertising-is-coming-in-to-prepare-your-marketing-data-now. It's a targeting profile. You're telling an AI your problems, your questions, your interests, your vulnerabilities, and now that intimate data stream becomes the basis for serving you commercial messages.
OpenAI says users will have control over personalization settings and can opt out or clear data used for ad targeting. But we know how this works in practice. How many people actually dig through privacy settings? How many understand the implications? The default is always surveillance, and opting out is always made deliberately difficult.
The revenue projections tell us everything we need to know about OpenAI's desperation. Internal documents obtained by The Information, https://almacorp.com/blog/openai-chatgpt-advertising-strategy-2026, show OpenAI forecasting $1 billion in revenue from free user monetization in 2026, growing to nearly $25 billion by 2029.
$25 billion extracted from surveilling and targeting the 95% of ChatGPT's users who don't pay for subscriptions. This is the classic tech playbook: offer a free service, build dependency, accumulate massive user bases, then monetize through advertising once you've locked them in.
And who are these 800 million users? According to Sensor Tower data, https://www.webpronews.com/openace-chat-gpt-ad-empire-targeting-700m-users-in-2026. ChatGPT has 810 million monthly active users, far ahead of Google's Gemini at 346 million. Marketing analysts call it the largest untapped attention pool in digital media. Notice the language, attention pool. Users are resources to be harvested.
Let's connect this to power. Sam Altman, OpenAI's CEO, has been very clear about his ambitions. He wants to build AGI. He's pushing for trillions in infrastructure investment. He talks about transforming civilization. But the actual business he's running can't make money.
So who benefits from this model? Not the users, who are now subjected to targeted advertising based on their most personal conversations with an AI. Not society, which is being promised revolutionary technology that's built on an unsustainable burn rate.
The beneficiaries are the venture capital firms and investors who pumped billions into OpenAI's valuation and need an exit. They're the ones who need OpenAI to demonstrate a path to profitability, even if that path means turning an AI assistant into an advertising surveillance engine.
And this is where the security story becomes crucial. Because at the same moment OpenAI is pivoting to monetize user conversations, researchers discovered those conversations, and the AI itself, can be hijacked by attackers.
The vulnerability is called Zombie Agent. Security researchers Vika Babwa at Radware, https://www.securityweek.com/zombieagent-attack-let-researchers-take-over-ChatGPT, discovered it and reported it through the Bugcrowd bug bounty platform in September 2025. OpenAI fixed this specific vulnerability in mid-December, but the broader problem remains.
Here's how Zombie Agent works. An attacker sends you a malicious email or file. You use ChatGPT to process it. Maybe you ask the AI to summarize your emails or analyze a document. The malicious content contains hidden prompt injection instructions that hijack the AI.
The attack is particularly insidious because it uses ChatGPT's memory feature. Once the attacker infiltrates the chatbot through prompt injection, they can make the attack persistent. https://www.darkreading.com/endpoint-security/chatgpt-memory-feature-prompt-injection. The AI remembers the malicious instructions. Every subsequent conversation can be exfiltrated.
Zombie Agent routes around OpenAI's defenses, https://www.infosecurity-magazine.com/news/new-0click-attack-ChatGPT, by exfiltrating data one character at a time using pre-constructed URLs that each terminate in a different text character. It's low and slow, designed to evade detection. And it works on services connected to ChatGPT, Gmail, Outlook, Google Drive, GitHub.
Think about what that means. You integrate ChatGPT with your email because it's convenient. An attacker sends you a malicious email. The AI processes it. Now the attacker has persistent access to every email in your inbox, your entire contact list, and every conversation you have with the AI going forward.
OpenAI patched this specific vulnerability. But here's the critical part: they admitted that the underlying problem, prompt injection attacks, may never be fully solved.
In a blog post about hardening their ChatGPT Atlas browser agent, OpenAI wrote, https://openai.com/index/hardening-atlas-against-prompt-injection, prompt injection, much like scams and social engineering on the web, is unlikely to ever be fully solved.
Let's unpack that admission. OpenAI is comparing prompt injection to scams and social engineering. But that comparison is deeply misleading. Scams and social engineering rely on tricking humans. Prompt injection is a technical vulnerability baked into the architecture of language models themselves.
Security experts explain, https://the-decoder.com/openai-admits-prompt-injection-may-never-be-fully-solved-casting-doubt-on-the-AI-vision, that the problem is fundamental. Large language models cannot reliably distinguish between trusted developer instructions and untrusted user input. Every token, every piece of text, is fair game for interpretation as an instruction.
Compare this to SQL injection, which plagued web applications in the early 2000s. SQL injection was solved because developers could draw a firm line between commands and untrusted input, then enforce that line with libraries and frameworks. With LLMs, that line simply does not exist inside the model. https://i10x.ai/news/openai-prompt-injection-attacks-ai-agent-security-challenge.
The UK's National Cyber Security Centre issued a stark warning. According to Malwarebytes reporting, https://www.malwarebytes.com/blog/news/2025/12/prompt-injection-is-that-be-fixed-warns-NCSC. The NCSC believes prompt injection may never be totally mitigated and could drive a wave of data breaches as more systems plug LLMs into sensitive backends.
So we have a company that's burning billions, desperate for revenue, pivoting to monetize user conversations through advertising. And at the same time, They're admitting their core technology has a potentially unsolvable security vulnerability that lets attackers hijack those conversations.
Who loses in this scenario? Users. Your private conversations, which OpenAI promises not to sell to advertisers, can be stolen by attackers. The AI you're using for convenience can be turned into a persistent surveillance tool against you. And you're going to see ads based on those conversations anyway.
And who profits? OpenAI's investors, who need to see a path to that $157 billion valuation paying off. Advertisers, who get access to one of the most intimate data streams ever created. And attackers, who now have 800 million targets using an AI system with fundamental security flaws.
Let's talk about the broader implications. OpenAI isn't alone in this. The entire AI industry is built on similar economics. Anthropic, Google, Microsoft, they're all pouring billions into AI development. https://11/cash-burn-rate-annual/1//1/2/openai-cash-burn-rate-financial-documents, with unclear paths to profitability.
The pattern is always the same. Promise revolutionary technology, accumulate users, achieve massive valuations, then scramble to monetize before the money runs out. We saw it with social media. We saw it with the gig economy. Now we're seeing it with AI.
But AI is different in a crucial way. Social media platforms could monetize by selling targeted ads based on your posts and likes. That was invasive, but it was data you voluntarily shared in public or semi-public forums.
With AI assistants like ChatGPT, you're sharing deeply personal information. You're asking for help with medical questions, legal issues, financial decisions, relationship problems. You're sharing work documents, emails, private thoughts. This is qualitatively different data.
And now that data stream, that intimate conversation between you and an AI, is being turned into an advertising targeting profile. OpenAI can promise they won't sell your data, but they're absolutely using it to decide what ads to show you based on your conversations.
The security implications make this even worse. When your private medical question or financial vulnerability is not only being used to target ads but can also be exfiltrated by attackers through prompt injection, we're creating a massive honeypot of sensitive personal data.
Let's think about incentives. OpenAI has every incentive to integrate ChatGPT with more services, email, calendars, documents, browsers. Each integration makes ChatGPT more useful and stickier. But each integration also expands the attack surface for prompt injection exploits.
And they have no incentive to be conservative about security because they're in an existential financial crisis. They need to show growth, engagement, and revenue to justify their valuation and raise more funding. Security is a cost center that slows down feature development.
We see this tension in OpenAI's own statements. They talk about continuously hardening ChatGPT against prompt injection. They ship security updates. But in the same breath, they admit the problem may never be fully solved.
That's not a security posture. That's an admission they're building on a fundamentally insecure foundation and hoping they can patch fast enough to stay ahead of attackers. Spoiler, they can't.
Cyberscoop reports, https://cyberscoop.com/openai-chatgpt-atlas-prompt-injection-browser-agent-security-update-head-of-preparedness, that OpenAI views prompt injection as a frontier security challenge, their terminology for risks that don't have clear solutions yet. But they're deploying these systems to hundreds of millions of users anyway.
Imagine any other industry deploying a product with known, unfixable security vulnerabilities to 800 million people. Imagine a car manufacturer selling vehicles with brakes that may never be fully solved. Imagine a bank running systems with vault doors that can be picked with a clever note.
But AI companies get to operate under different rules because the technology is new, because it's moving fast, because innovation. The subtext is always, we'll figure out the security and safety issues later, after we've achieved dominance and locked in users.
Let's look at the timeline again. OpenAI needs to survive until 2029 or 2030 to reach profitability. That's 4 to 5 more years of burning billions, desperate for revenue. How many more times will they pivot their business model in that time? How many more ways will they find to extract value from users?
We're already seeing it. First it was the subscription model, ChatGPT Plus at $20 per month. Now it's the cheaper ChatGPT Go tier at $8 per month, which still includes ads. They're segmenting the market, finding the maximum each user segment can be made to pay or watch.
And what happens if they don't make it to 2030? What happens if they run out of money in 2027 as some analysts predict? Do they get acquired? Do they sell off user data? Do they get more aggressive with monetization?
The most likely scenario is they keep raising funding, each round coming with more pressure to show a path to profitability, each round giving investors more power to demand monetization. The users become the product more and more explicitly.
Meanwhile, the security vulnerabilities remain. Every AI company is racing to build agentic AI, systems that can browse the web, read your email, execute tasks autonomously. And every one of these systems faces the same fundamental prompt injection problem.
Fortune reports, https://fortune.com/2025/12/AI-browser-prompt-injections-cybersecurity-hackers, that OpenAI's admission about prompt injection casts serious doubt on the entire vision of agentic AI. If you can't trust an AI agent to reliably distinguish between your instructions and malicious instructions hidden in data it processes, how can you give it meaningful autonomy?
But the industry can't slow down because they're all in an arms race. OpenAI competes with Google, Anthropic, Microsoft, Meta. If OpenAI doesn't ship agentic features, users will switch to competitors who do. Security takes a back seat to shipping features.
This is a race to the bottom. Each company faces the same economic pressures, the same security challenges, the same incentive to monetize users. The result is systems that are simultaneously more powerful, more integrated into our lives, and more vulnerable.
Let's synthesize what we're seeing across both these stories. First, the AI industry's business model is fundamentally broken. These companies burn billions building technology that can't yet be profitably monetized through legitimate means.
Second, the technology itself has architectural security vulnerabilities that may never be fully solved. Prompt injection isn't a bug that can be patched, it's a fundamental limitation of how large language models process text.
Third, the solution these companies are pursuing is surveillance advertising. Turn the intimate conversations users have with AI into targeting profiles, then sell access to advertisers. The same model that corrupted social media is now being applied to AI assistants.
Fourth, this creates a toxic feedback loop. More features and integrations make the AI more useful, which grows the user base, which makes the advertising more valuable. But more integrations also expand the attack surface for security exploits.
The question we should be asking is, who decided this was the model? Who decided AI assistants should be free at point of use, monetized through advertising and data extraction? Who decided we should race to deploy systems with known unfixable vulnerabilities to hundreds of millions of users?
The answer is venture capital and big tech. They're the ones funding OpenAI and its competitors. They're the ones demanding paths to profitability that justify billion-dollar valuations. They're the ones pushing for growth above all else.
And governments are asleep at the wheel. Where's the regulation requiring disclosure of known security vulnerabilities? Where's the oversight of AI companies monetizing intimate user conversations? Where's the antitrust enforcement as a few companies rush to monopolize AI?
We're repeating every mistake of the social media era, but faster and with higher stakes. Facebook could manipulate your emotions and political opinions. AI assistants integrated with your email, documents, and calendar can surveil your entire digital life, and can be hijacked by attackers to do the same.
OpenAI's Sam Altman has said AI will be the most important technology humanity has ever developed. But the version of AI we're actually getting is built on surveillance advertising and architected with unfixable security holes.
The vision they sell is AI that empowers humanity, that solves grand challenges, that ushers in an era of abundance. The reality is AI that surveils users to serve them ads, while being vulnerable to attackers who want to surveil them even more.
What can we do? First, be skeptical of free AI services. You're not the customer, you're the product. Your conversations are the resource being monetized. If you need to use these tools, pay for subscriptions and turn off data collection wherever possible.
Second, demand regulation. AI companies should be required to disclose architectural security vulnerabilities. They should be prohibited from using conversation data for advertising targeting. They should face liability for data breaches that result from known, unfixed vulnerabilities.
Third, support alternative models. Open source AI, local AI that runs on your device, AI funded through transparent subscriptions rather than surveillance. These exist, but they're being drowned out by the marketing budgets of venture-backed companies.
And fourth, recognize this for what it is, a fight over power and control. OpenAI and its competitors are building systems that will mediate more and more of our interaction with information, with services, with each other. Who controls those systems, and whose interests they serve, is one of the defining questions of our era.
Tonight we've shown you two stories that seem separate but are deeply connected. OpenAI burning billions and pivoting to ads. OpenAI admitting its security vulnerabilities may never be solved. Both are symptoms of an AI industry built on broken economics and rushed deployment.
The house of cards is shaking. OpenAI has maybe 18 months of runway left before they run out of money. They're frantically monetizing users through advertising. Their technology has fundamental security flaws they can't fix. And this is the company leading the AI revolution.
We need to ask hard questions about the future we're building. Is this really the AI we want? Surveillance-based, security-compromised, controlled by a handful of companies desperate to justify their valuations? Or can we build something different?
I'm Alex Truth.
And I'm Maya Clarity. Stay informed, stay critical, and don't trust the hype. This is Truth Report.